the Chief Growth Officer for P33, and I'm excited to be here with you all today to really start off. First, what an intro. Hello and welcome to TechRise Fintech Devane Market Calculation. I'm Shabir Ahmed, the Chief Growth Officer for P33, and I'm excited to be here with you all today. First, what an intro. Hello and welcome to TechRise Fintech Devane Market Calculation. I'm really excited. I'm Shabir Ahmed, the Chief Growth Officer for today, and I'm excited to be here with you all today. First, what an intro. Hello, before we dive into TechRise Devane Market Calculation, I'm really excited. I'm Shabir Ahmed, the Chief Growth Officer for today, and I'm excited to be here with you all today. First, what an intro. Hello, before we dive into TechRise Devane Market Calculation, I'm really excited. I'm Shabir Ahmed, the Chief Growth Officer for today, and I'm excited to be here with you all today. Hello, before we dive into TechRise Devane Market Calculation, I'm really excited. I'm Shabir Ahmed, the Chief Growth Officer for today, and I'm from product to fixing toilets to launching and leading a new office across the country. Victoria holds a BS in chemical engineering from UCLA and an MBA from the University of Chicagoland School of Business. Happy Friday, Victoria, and thank you for joining us. And finally, we are joined by Glenn Ford, Vice President at Jump Capital. Glenn is the Vice President on the investment team at Jump Capital, where he focuses on backing companies in the application software space. Beyond his work at Jump, Glenn is also an active angel investor, supporting early stage founders across sectors. And before Jump, Glenn was an investor at NQTel, the strategic venture fund serving the U.S. intelligence community angel investor. He also spent time at LinkedIn as a product strategist, helping to shape the sales navigator platform. I love that platform. He holds an MBA from MIT and a BS in business administration from the University of Intelligence Community angel investor. He also spent time at LinkedIn as a product strategist. All right, are we ready to kick this off? I love that. All right, founder one. He holds an MBA from MIT, Jacqueline, and Birkel Administration from University. Give a warm welcome to our first angel investor. Thank you for joining us, Glenn. Founder, product strategist. All right, are we ready to kick
Well,
this
let me
off?
say, if I could give you an
All right,
extra
founder
three
one. He
points
holds
here.
an MBA
That's
from
exactly
MIT,
what we're doing
Jacqueline,
for beauty
and
professionals
Birkel
around.
Administration from
I'm
University. Give a
Jacqueline,
warm
the
welcome
founder
to our
and
first
CEO.
angel investor.
And
Thank you for
Beauty
joining us,
Pros
Glenn.
Homes Business
Product
Services.
strategist.
That's three.
All right, are we ready to kick
Well,
this
let me
off?
say, if I could give you an
All right,
extra
founder.
three
He holds an
points
MBA
here. That's
from
excited that we're
MIT,
an asset
Jacqueline,
for our human background. I'm
Give a
Jacqueline,
warm
the
welcome
founder
to our
and
first
CEO.
angel investor.
And
Thank you for
Beauty
joining us,
Pros
Glenn.
Homes My Nail
Product
Services.
strategist.
That's three.
All right, are we ready to kick
well,
this
let me
off?
say, if I could give you an
All right,
extra
founder.
three
He holds an
points
MBA
here. That's
from
excited that we're an
MIT,
asset for our developer background. I'm Jacqueline, the founder and CEO. Just like this, I am based my nail service. That's why I value
are we ready to kick
what
this off?
say I'm not just
All right, founder. He holds an MBA from MIT,
that's why
I'm
Jacqueline,
one
the founder and
CEO.
CEO. Just like this, I am based my nail service. That's why I value
are we ready to kick this off?
I'm not just
He holds an MBA from
that's why I'm Jacqueline, just like this, I am based my nail service. That's why I value
are we ready to kick this off?
I'm not just
He holds an MBA
that's why educational organizations, giving us access to over 25,000 ideal merchants within the next 6 months. So you can equate it with 2 partnerships equals 25K ideal merchants. And the reality is that current solutions were not built for this vertical and business size. Existing players in this space excel at taking revenue, not optimizing it. Round is the only payment platform purpose-built for these merchants, with transparency, instant access, and rewards, all with 0 fees to get started. It's an exciting time for us. We're launching next month in May with 100 Chicago-based merchants and a waitlist of over 350 businesses built through word of mouth. After we achieve product validation through our MVP, we're embedding banking. This enables instant settlements into business checking accounts, earning daily interest, which is unheard of. Lynn is really my nail tech, and that is the genesis of Round. With my additional experience in payments that we pay post-acquisition by JP Morgan, Clint and I are uniquely positioned to execute in fintech and small business markets, especially with regulatory concerns always top of mind. This is not just about eliminating ghost services for us, it's about democratizing financial access, which this $25,000 grant accelerates, helping us formalize the referral partnerships with community spaces and educational organizations. Thank you so much. I would love to.
Amazing job, Jacqueline. Thank you so much. Now we'll bring our VCs to the stage and allow for judge Q&A and take our first question from Hilton.
Great. Thanks so much, Jacqueline. I'm curious, could you share a little bit more about your revenue model, given that it's kind of free to join for the merchants?
Yes, such a good point and question. So as we think about our rev model, again, the MVP is really focused on product and vertical validation. So we'll get a percent of transaction fees, which is ultimately paid for by the end customer. After we embed banking, we will also earn percent interest on those balances as well. Additionally, we talk about rewards, what we're doing is driving high quality leads to these businesses in this space. So rewards are actually a form of monetization for us as well. Thanks, Hilton.
Amazing. Next question from Victoria.
Thanks, Jack. Oh, how much are you finding that
So
merchants care
rewards
about
are
having an
actually a
all-in-one
form of
platform, not
monetization for us
something
as
just for
well.
payments?
Yeah, so I love the concept of embedded everything, which is
Amazing.
something that's
Next
floating
question from
around across
Victoria.
fintech. When we think about
Oh,
headcount of 3 or
how
less,
much are
the
you
merchants
finding
are
that
less
merchants care
concerned
about
with that,
having an all-in-one
ultimately because
platform, not something just
if
for
they're using
payments?
those products today, they're paying for the features, but they're not using them. So when we find with the true micro merchant of 3 or less headcount, they're much more DIY scrappy, and the challenge is more so the manual the manual truing up across peer-to-peer apps and in multiple payment solutions. They're much
And
more
last
DIY
question from
scrappy,
Glenn.
and the challenge
Thanks,
is
Jacqueline.
more
Great,
so
great
the
pitch.
manual,
The question from my side is mostly on the go-to-market. So obviously with these small mom and pop shops, there's a long tail. I know you kind of touched on partnerships as a big strategy there. Curious if you can just double click into how you think about acquiring those customers and also getting them to adopt and actually utilize the platform on an ongoing basis.
Of course, yeah. So right now we're leveraging the tight-knit nature of beauty communities as well as the partnerships. So we're really focusing on that hyper-local density. And so first we're focused on Chicago, and then we'll move to Atlanta where my co-founder is based. And so as we think about the unit economics there are these powerful referrals that we're seeing. And so we're both looking at the ideal customer profile as they're in school, as well as when they're established in these spaces. Beyond that, there's a ton of referral partner opportunities beyond those community spaces. And so we're, again, kind of focused on that hyper local to prove out what that right model is and then replicate elsewhere. Beyond that, there's a ton of referral partner opportunities.
Fantastic. Anything else you wanted to share, Jacqueline, as we close?
Sure. Yeah. So I left my role as growth and marketing leader at American Express a year ago today. So this feels very full circle for me. And I would just love to thank TechRise, P33, and all of the impressive judges as well for this opportunity.
Amazing. And happy anniversary.
Thank you. Express a year ago today.
Awesome. Well, we will kick it over to Rendel of Inheirit. Rendel.
Thank you so much. My colleague Amanda is going to bring up the screen as I was just having tech issues this morning. Can everybody see the screen okay?
Awesome. Well, we will kick it. Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Tafair.
Rendel of Inheirit.
Everyone watching and listening right now, please drop any emoji or type the words "not yet" in the chat if you're going to die one day.
Awesome. Well, we will kick it. Yes, we can.
Now, biologically, everyone should have responded. However, psychologically, feelings might have been evoked just to ask that question of fear, anxiety, anger, or even apathy. Next slide, please. And it's that fear that causes the vast majority of Americans not to make plans for the inevitability of death. And it leads to tremendous, not just financial burden in terms of generational assets being lost, legacies being lost, but also time and, of course, dealing with the emotional tax that comes with trying to manage people's affairs once we've lost them. Next slide, please. And that is the problem Inheirit is here to solve. Estate planning is complex, it's costly, and is inaccessible. Next slide. But also time and, of course, dealing with the emotional tax that comes with trying to manage people's affairs once we've lost them. Next slide, please. And that is the problem Inheirit is here to solve. Estate planning is complex, it's costly, and is inaccessible. Next slide. But also time and, of course, dealing with the emotional tax that comes with trying to manage people's affairs once we've lost them. Next slide, please. And that is the problem Inheirit is here to solve. Estate planning is complex, it's costly, and is inaccessible. Next slide. But also time and, of course, dealing with the emotional tax that comes with trying to manage people's affairs once we've lost them. Next slide, please. And that is the problem Inheirit is here to solve. Estate planning is complex, it's costly, and is inaccessible. Next slide. leading with joy. We're leading with culture. We believe the rest of the market is focused so much on the legalese and just trying to reduce costs that they've missed out on making direct connections with the people in an area that is very sensitive to them. And so our approach is to be more grassroots and community driven. And because we're not just building tech or templates, we're building trust and community. Next slide. We make money via subscription revenue model. We're launching our beta this spring within the next 2 months. We're going to offer an annual subscription at $129 a year, and we're going to offer an a lifetime subscription for $449 for these founding members. And we expect a gradual ramp up because we know it's going to take time to build that trust and confidence within the community. And so we're not projecting the super rapid hockey stick growth in the first few years. Next slide, please. And our team, three incredible founders, Aston Hayes, Amanda Mutraj, and myself, bring over 65 years of experience in product, legal tech, UX, private equity, marketing, sales. So our variety of experiences was going to allow us to succeed. And most importantly, we have lived experience because we've all had to endure loss of someone who didn't have a plan. Next slide. And we expect to use the $25,000 from TechRise to augment our current $250,000 friends and family fundraising round, which is already over $100,000 of individual contributions and a recent pitch that we won late last year. And we're going to use those funds for the development expenses and to complete our social media marketing and community outreach during the beta phase. Next slide.
And that is time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rendel. And be sure to answer anything along with the judges as well if you want to add anything at the end, but appreciate your time.
That was the last
Welcoming.
one.
Thank you. I was hesitant to raise my hand, but
No, you're good. You're
at the
good. You did
beginning,
exactly what you're supposed to do, Tavera.
be sure to well, thank you. Welcome our judges back. We'll go in the reverse order and start with Glenn. Your time.
Awesome.
Welcoming-
Thanks, Rendel.
Thank you.
Great pitch.
I was hesitant to
Curious
raise
if you
my
can just
hand, but
talk more about the
at
competitive
the beginning,
differentiation here, because I do know the space. You mentioned the joy versus the legalese, which I understand, but just want to better understand how you think about that differentiation, both on the product side, on the go-to-market, because it is a very well-funded space. So eager to just hear how you think about that.
Absolutely. You know, we are very mission driven at Inherit and focusing on this idea of building out not just building generational wealth, but ensuring that transfer. And of course, that is the exact process of estate planning. So the differentiation is going to come from in large part from our outreach, not just the technology. And so as we're grassroots in the community having the conversations, whether it's with fraternities and sororities, alumni groups, faith-based organizations, we're going to be on the ground with our consumers and customers, building up that trust in order to start to spread the awareness and starting the conversation to help people secure their legacy and getting back to joy. Faith-based organizations, we're going to be on the
Victoria.
ground with our consumers and customers,
Thanks, Rendell. Yeah, this
building
has
up
been
that
a
trust in
very,
order to
very
start
busy
to spread
space.
the awareness and starting the
How,
conversation to
how are
help
you
people
thinking
secure
about
their
product
legacy
expansion
and getting back
beyond
to
estate
joy.
planning? Are you thinking about moving into administration as well?
Thank you. That's a great question. So
Yeah,
some of
this
the
has been
areas that we've
a
talked about from a revenue
very busy
creation
space.
perspective, not just the subscriptions that's
How,
coming
how are
from our
you thinking
users,
about
but there's a
product
whole potential
expansion
for referrals
beyond
and
estate
partnerships. The
planning? Are
death
you
care
thinking about
space
moving into
is
administration as
wide,
well?
and we believe that it is a marketplace that is ripe for innovation. So everything from funeral services to death doulas to the ancillary areas preceding that final inevitability, right? Incapacitation, long-term care, insurance, hospital. So there's a variety of ways that we can then seek out partnerships or new products to support.
Thanks, Rendell. Super thoughtful pitch. I really like the kind of stratification of your target personas, kind of death positive versus hesitant. Curious how you think about identifying those different groups, and how you maybe think about, A/B testing different strategies to target the different groups.
Absolutely. If I had more time, I could bring on our brand strategist who's not on the call, but hopefully she's listening. We just went through this exercise and we have an entire marketing strategy mapped out for specifically targeting those two groups. There's a third group called death avoidant, the older, the boomers, the ones who say, you figure it out. kids, I'm not going to be here. That's your problem, not my problem. But these first two groups, we do have a specific plan in place to reach them utilizing social media outreach and influencers, but also some of the direct conversations and community organizations, whether it's again through faith-based organizations, community-based organizations where these targets already attend or support those groups, as well as perhaps government agencies. Even here in Chicago, think about our city treasurer's office and all the amazing work that she's doing to reach consumers around personal finance. So there'll be various avenues depending on which group we're trying to target at the time.
Amazing job, Rendell. Anything you want to add?
All I was going to say is, again, we want to help people to start the conversation, to secure your legacy, to get back to joy. So thank you for listening to the presentation, and thank you so much, TechRise, for this amazing experience.
Amazing job, Rendell. Anything you want to add? Thank you, Rendell. Great pitch.
We want to help people to start the conversation.
Next up, please welcome to the virtual stage Omar from Afterfund.
The presentation, and thank you so much, TechRise, for this amazing experience.
Thank you, Rendell. Great pitch. Next up, please welcome to the virtual stage Omar from Afterfund.
The presentation, and thank you so much, TechRise, for this amazing experience.
Thank you, Rendell. Great pitch. Next up, please welcome to the virtual stage Omar from Afterfund.
Americans donate about $560 billion a year, which is more than the entire GDP of most countries in the world. So how is it possible that 1 in 3 nonprofits fail in the first 10 years? Well, the problem is twofold. First, nonprofits, while they can be great at their mission, they're not so great at finance, especially the small or medium-sized ones. And they don't understand investments and other issues related to sustainability. But it actually gets worse because you can't communicate what you don't understand. Nonprofits have trouble attracting donations intended for financial sustainability. Afterfund's solution is a focus on communicating the value of endowments and related sustainability issues. As a company, we create a platform that allows nonprofits to invest in endowments, but we also provide additional sustainability tools. We start by putting endowments in a context through causes. Each endowment fund is earmarked for a specific cause and a purpose. But we also provide a sustainability-focused dashboard for the nonprofit. This allows nonprofits to easily understand what financial sustainability looks like. It also makes it easier to deal with tools like fund deposits. But we take it a step further. Our specialization in endowment communication also works for donors. So we give the nonprofits donors their own dashboard, and this enables the nonprofit to communicate the impact of a donation easily and effectively. Because of our exclusively digital presence, we're focused on millennials in the United States who donate an average of $481. For reasons I could describe in greater detail in the Q&A, that average comes down to about $78 per millennial, and multiplying out our unit metrics by the target segment of millennials we're looking at, so-called late millennials, our market is about $2.3 billion. But the question remains, how good are we at tapping into those donors? Well, as it turns out, we're pretty darn good. Our CAC is currently 0. We spend no money putting up LinkedIn posts, and most of our growth has been through word of mouth. We are overwhelmed with demand, and I swear I didn't set this up, but as we speak right now, my co-founder is onboarding another nonprofit client. Our LTV is based on an assumption that we grow our nonprofits to an average of about 100K, and our cause focus ensures that endowments stick around for an actual, literal lifetime. That's why our LTV is so high. On the whole, we've grown about 20% month over month, which is in line with other fintechs, but the question is why? Well, I believe that our competition doesn't really appreciate what nonprofits need. Other financial advisors, they don't understand the problems nonprofits face. So, for example, they don't frame endowments through a cause-focused lens. They also still don't know how to communicate investment concepts without confusing graphs and charts. As for donor management companies, they don't really engage donors on ideas of sustainable financing in general. Should we be fortunate enough to earn today's grant, the funds would be immediately used for onboarding. After a month and a half, we would shift our resources to adding a sustainability tool that I can expound on in Q&A. But the biggest cost is going to be upgrading our custodial services. We need a new custodian to get the proper tech to scale, and that's going to be more expensive. That final 10% will be used in the next 6 months to expand to other states. The need for Afterfund in the nonprofit world is perhaps even more urgent today. 30% of nonprofits use federal grants, and the unreliability of these grants makes it such that nonprofits must become independently sustainable. And I think Janan and I are the team to do it. Janan's a young fintech entrepreneur who already has an exit underneath his belt. Meanwhile, I've worked in finance, raising and managing hundreds of millions of euros. We've known each other for nearly 10 years, and our skill sets have proven complementary on this journey, which we are doing full time. Janan and I are building an ecosystem for nonprofits to systematically find and sustainably fund a cause forever. They can do this over and over again until humanity's problems are all sustainably solved. Thank you.
Amazing pitch, Omar. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Welcoming our judges back to the stage. And we'll start with Victoria.
Cool. Thanks, Omar. Can you talk more about the sustainability tools? What are they going to do exactly? And do you need to integrate with any existing platforms that the nonprofits use today?
Yeah, this is great, great question. So, sustainability tools primarily right now revolve around cash flow management. A lot of these nonprofits, especially the small and medium-sized ones, they're really worried that they're going to invest too much now, and then something will happen in the market, and they won't be able to pull it out. So, if we can help them get a very quick snapshot of what's going on with their cash management, we can encourage them to invest in a way that is sustainable. And so the integration that we're doing is like with Stripe, but also considering integrations with like DonorBox and Blackbaud. These are really major players in the market. But it's unclear which direction we should go. Just now, we've kind of doubled down on DonorBox for the time being. Thank you.
Next up, Hilton.
Thanks, Omar. Really great pitch.
Thanks.
Could you talk a little bit about the sort of the donor-facing UI and how that enables better communication on the part of the nonprofits, right? Kind of that nonprofit to donor communication.
Yeah, absolutely. So donors, especially millennial donors who we're reaching out to, they're obsessed with impact. They're obsessed with transparency. And it turns out that endowment donations are the very best in impact, right? You get so much more bang for your buck, especially if the charities are like effective charities that are trying to, get the most for dollar value anyway, right? So what we do is we take the donation, we take average amounts of growth that we can expect, and then we translate it into impact. We translate it into impact. And this is an incredible motivator for these nonprofits and I'm sorry, for these donors. And for the nonprofits, it's actually not that difficult because they already have their own internal metrics. They understand really what's going on.
And Glenn.
Thanks for the question.
Thanks, Omar. Quick question for you, just on the pricing model and budget here. I mean, nonprofits are historically very budget conscious. They're already strapped for cash. Like, how do you think about getting them to pay for another solution and convincing them that this is additive to their staff?
Yeah, this is an awesome question. See, they don't pay. They don't have to pay with any upfront funds, okay? We work on an AUM model, assets under management. So we're an RIA. We are a SEC registered robo-advisor, nationally registered robo-advisor. And so we only keep what we kill. In other words, the donations that we bring in that get invested, we just manage a percentage of that. And that's how we get paid. Now, there are some larger nonprofits where there might be a SaaS model involved, but currently that's not our focus. I hope that answers the question. Cool, thank you.
Fantastic. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I just like to show off some of our super cool nonprofits. I don't know if I'm still sharing my screen, if you don't mind, just really quickly, because I just want to help them out too. So Bonnie Project, they won a national award, the Diana Legacy Award, and ShyCare won a MacArthur grant, local charity. They're doing incredible work. We've worked directly with both of them. In fact, with ShyCare, we've actually volunteered with them, so we know these early adopters intimately. And maybe one day TechRise P33, why not? Let's work together, folks. All right, that's all. Thank you so much.
I love that. I love it, Omar. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Next up, let's welcome Christine from Brighftin. Christine, take it away.
Hi, everybody. If you could just imagine the Jeopardy music in your head for a second here. Omar, I think I need you to stop the share. There we go. All right. Young people don't care about money, right? They're busy spending it on avocado toast experiences. Well, we asked a group of 22-year-olds about money, and here's what they said. We asked, what's your biggest fear about money? And they told us about built-up student loans, not being able to afford a family, being trapped in poverty, and struggling my whole life. Does this sound like people who don't care? These aren't just any 22-year-olds either. These are seniors at Northwestern University. That's where Brighftin started. I was in grad school at the time, and the older sister and me read these and thought, we have got to do something to help these kids. Fast forward 6 years, Gen Z is not doing as well as their parents were. This is Hannah. She's 28 now, has a good job and pays her bills, but she's worried about money like the vast majority of people her age. Believe it or not, she's actually saving $300 a month, but she doesn't know that, and she doesn't know what to do with it. She's afraid to make a mistake, and so she avoids looking at her own money altogether. Here's the problem. The finance industry is failing the responsible kids. This is a $6 billion opportunity that we call merits, middle earners rich in time. That is to say, the young middle class. Debt products don't apply to Hannah, and her investments aren't enough to make a traditional advisor even sneeze in her direction. They're overlooking the largest part of the population. But we think young people have a lot more potential than that. Brighftin is a platform that combines Duolingo for finance, Tinder for money, and mass transit for the financial journey. It is a B2C subscription model, and I'm going to talk more about budgeting and advice. Financial advisors would tell Hannah that the best place to start with money is expense tracking, but that experience is usually tedious and painful. With Brighftin, all you have to do is swipe your expenses to one of 4 categories: spend, splurge, save, or share. Then it's a simple percentage-based budget after that. The best part is it feels like a video game, so you don't have to avoid it. So Hannah learns to budget. What's next? Certified financial planners can answer questions like how to allocate savings, but they don't have a business model that Hannah can afford. Brighftin uses LLMs to group similar people, so a CFP can give advice to the group instead of one-on-one and serve many more people affordably, all within the app. So we're reinventing not just the fee structure that is financial advice, but the product that is financial advice based on those groups and building community around those groups as well. There are a lot of competitors in personal finance, but no advice is this affordable. No other budget app feels like a video game, and no other solution unifies the experience for the young middle class. We've spent $25K on marketing so far, and we've learned what drives growth and what doesn't. With another $25K, we'll refocus on what worked best, which was social media and newsletters, with a specific goal for each platform. You see that in orange, and get a head start on our advice features in green. To gain an unfair advantage and reduce customer acquisition cost, we're seeking referrals from financial advisory firms who get questions from Merits all the time, and they want to help, but they don't have the ability to spend the time on these basic topics. So we'll have some help here from Misty Lynch, our new CFP expert in residence. We're seeking a total of $500K to carry us through 2025 and projecting $108 million in revenue in 5 years. These are my co-founders, Richard and Aaron. I'm a product manager. Richard codes. Aaron's great with numbers. I think these guys are totally awesome. Some people may look at personal finance and see a crowded space. We see a problem that has not yet been solved. So from our team and from Hannah, thank you for listening.
Amazing job, Christine. Thank you so much. And so we will kick it off with Hilton.
Thanks a lot, Christine. Really love this in this space. Could you talk a little bit more about kind of the one-to-many financial advisor piece where you're grouping, similar merits? What's the relationship with kind of the financial advisors there? Is this something that's kind of hosted on the platform or, analog based? How do you think about that piece of it?
So there are a lot of different ways that this could go. There are a lot of feature ideas that we have. The important thing for us, I think, is that it all remains within the app. The medium is the message, and young people don't want to get on a phone call, really. So that's how much of traditional advice is. So we want to keep it all within the app. We could have, Q&A features. We do imagine kind of an end of month review from a CFP. But the AI there functions kind of like the sorting hat from Harry Potter, where we take all this data and group people so that wherever they're interacting, whatever feature they're interacting with in the app, they're doing it with people like them.
Awesome. Victoria?
Thanks, Christine. You're right. It's definitely a busy space, but I think a lot of solutions still aren't solving people's problems. So how are you thinking? But one of the challenges is the customer acquisition and churn. So how are you thinking about tackling those?
Yes. So customer acquisition is a number that we're trying to get down. Right now, it's about $100, which is too high. But the ways we're bringing that down are, like I mentioned, one, we're going to build a wait list by reaching out to financial advisors. Every time we talk to them, they say, "Oh yeah, I get these questions all the time." So they know the need kind of better than anyone else. We're also positioning ourselves within the space rather than finance, because it's really not about numbers. It's about how people feel about their money. So we're positioning ourselves within the space of health and wellness and thinking about partnerships in that area as well.
The articles of incorporation is agent for service.
Amazing. And closing us out with Glenn.
Thanks, Christine. I had a similar question on customer acquisition. I'm just curious, like what the messaging, and you mentioned kind of the health and wellness angle there. I'm just curious if you could expand on how you think about the wedge here that really gets Merit's interested in the product, and how you think about them retaining and sticking around.
Yeah, retention is a good question, and it's one that we're addressing with the next feature that we're going to launch, which is both something that guides people through the very beginnings of using Brighftin, and also will be something that we can market. So it is feel better about money in 4 days. That's obviously something we can put in an advertisement, but also as soon as you download Brighftin, we're going to walk you through the steps of what you're actually accomplishing by swiping these things. Right now, we allow you to do that, but what we need to work on is showing people what they're actually doing, what they're learning through that experience.
Again, amazing job, Christine. Anything you want to leave us with?
Yes, actually, Brighftin is up for a Webby Award. So if everyone on here goes to webbyawards.com, that's WEBBY awards.com, you can search for Brighftin. We are up against the Apple Card and Intuit. So pretty high stakes there, but we'd love to have your vote. Thank you.
Amazing, and good luck, Christine. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Next up, let's welcome to the stage Ali of gaapRT. Ali, take it away.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Just a second. You don't see that bar on top from Zoom, right? Just want to confirm.
No.
What's going on? Okay, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Most companies that have investors or lenders need to provide them with audited financial statements. And the auditors require that these financial statements are prepared in accordance with GAAP, the generally accepted accounting principles. So these companies engage accounting experts called technical accountants to help them with their GAAP compliance. I'll take a moment to differentiate between bookkeeping and GAAP compliance. Bookkeeping is the recording of transactions, such as paying your invoices or managing your inventory. That's what SAP and QuickBooks are for, and we're not competing with them. GAAP compliance, on the other hand, is applying the extensive accounting rules to the transactions and events, and which could be like signing a lease or buying a business or even tariffs. And for this, there is no software solution. So companies hire professionals, either in-house or consultants. And accounting firms make a lot of money providing these technical accounting services. The biggest problem with technical accountants is that they cost a lot of money. But CFOs are willing to pay this money because they don't want to have an accounting error. An accounting error could mean lawsuits, debt covenant violations, or even the executives getting fired. And what's making this problem worse is that there's a growing shortage of accountants. And the accounting profession is in crisis because of this shortage. The CPA Journal reports that 75% of CPAs will retire in the next 5 to 7 years, and millennials don't want to be accountants. So you have to wonder, what will companies do 10 years from now? Our solution is replacing these technical accountants with a virtual accounting advisor. It prepares all the documentation that the customer needs, and everything is audit ready. It will cover every accounting topic, and it does it all in 10% of the time. How do we compare to the status quo? Well, we can significantly reduce the compliance budget by thousands. We can produce all the documentation in minutes rather than days, and we can reduce the accounting errors with software. Why now? Well, two reasons. First is the growing shortage of accountants, and the second is the advancements in AI. There've also been a number of articles written on this topic in the Wall Street Journal, and many investment firms are talking about how AI is going to change accounting forever. And a humble brag, we have been mentioned in a couple of these articles as one of the innovative companies incorporating AI into accounting. GAAP compliance is a global requirement worth $40 billion. In the US, it's called US GAAP, and internationally, it's called IFRS. Both can be covered on our platform. But initially, we're only focusing on US GAAP. Why us? Well, well, I have over 15 years of experience in this vertical. I was an audit manager at Ernst & Young, a senior director of technical accounting at a company, and most recently, accounting consultant. I'm a CPA and I have an MBA from Chicago Booth. My co-founder, Devane, has over 7 years of enterprise software engineering experience. He's a mathematician and a data scientist, and his master's thesis was on LLMs. So we've got the perfect combination of knowledge and experience to develop the solution. We're pretty scrappy, and most of our development has been bootstrapped. We've built the underlying platform, and on it, we address 2 accounting subjects where it generates all the documentation. We've onboarded about 20 clients, design partners who've helped us validate the problem and improve our product. And right now, we're developing the Gap AI agent. You can ask the AI questions as soon as you have a transaction, and it'll read the accounting code and tell you what the accounting code says about how to account for any transaction with citations. And that's exactly where we want to use the funding, the prize money that we could get from this event. Most of it will go towards marketing, and some of it will go towards our developing and hosting. That's it. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll open up for questions now.
Thank you, Ali. Great job. Great pitch. And we'll kick it off with Glenn.
Hey, Glenn.
Awesome. Thanks, Ali. Really like the application of AI here. Curious how you think about risk in this regard. Like, is there a human in the loop? What do you kind of think about the opportunities for kind of human AI collaboration here? And I guess in terms of hallucinations and other potential opportunities for risk here, what are you kind of thinking through?
Good question. And we get these questions from our customers as well. So the first thing is we are, in terms of litigation, we're subject to the same litigation an accounting consultant would. So we just have to have a duty of care and do the same things. Ultimately, the responsibility of the accounting lies on the management. The way we take care of hallucinations is we actually cite every accounting code that we reference when we do your accounting. So the user can actually go back, open up the manuals and read the accounting code and see that they can agree with what we're producing. And we've also tested this where we got leases that were already done by a customer, and they do it on our system to see if you get the same results. And we've gotten better results every time. Thank you.
Amazing. Victoria?
Thanks, Ali. Thinking about market opportunity, what size or type of company typically necessitates a technical accountant?
So basically, it's any company that needs audited financial statements because auditors require that it's in compliance with GAAP. Our biggest companies would be publicly traded companies because they have SEC requirements as well as FASB requirements. If you want a number, that basically any company that makes over 100 million in revenue, they're going to be our customer of ours.
We'll close this out, Hilton.
Hey, Hilton.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Ali. Curious kind of following Victoria's question, is think about your kind of ICP and your initial design partners. How do you think about pricing structure, whether that's kind of usage, as you start to scale up into larger companies that might have higher requirements?
Yeah, so we, excuse me, we're gonna have three tiers of pricing structures. The biggest one would be publicly traded companies because they're subject to SEC requirements and FASB requirements. A lower tier is private companies that we would only charge for just the GAAP from FASB, not the SEC. And then there are companies that maybe have 4 or 5 transactions a year, not many. So we want to offer our services on a subject by subject basis rather than giving the whole platform. In addition to that, there's consulting firms, accounting firms that have a lot of volume and you can use our software again and again. They would have a higher volume surcharge for that. Thank you.
Awesome. Ali, anything else you want to leave us with?
Yeah, if you first of all, thank you, TechRise and all the team for your support. And if you know of any CFOs or controllers who would be interested, would really appreciate a referral, guys. Thank you.
Great job. Amazing job to our 5 founders who pitched today. We are so blessed to have them a part of our Chicagoland ecosystem. And so again, congratulations. And we are now have the difficult job with the judges now have a difficult job of selecting a winner. So I'll ask all 3 of our judges to please head into the breakout room for deliberation, and we'll see you soon. So while they deliberate, I'd love to invite Brian Barnes, founder and CEO of M1 and amazing P33 board member, as well as Yezdaan Baber, CEO of Belvedere Trading, to the virtual stage. Brian Barnes is the founder and CEO of M1, a digital wealth platform. M1 managed over $10 billion for 500,000 customers across its suite of products, high yield savings, automated portfolio management, a cashback credit card, and various forms of borrowing. M1 has raised over $300 million, most recently at a $1.5 billion valuation. Amazing. And Yezdaan Baber is an accomplished executive with a career spanning over 20 years at Belvedere Trading, where he has made significant contributions to the company's growth and success. Since becoming the CEO in 2018, Yezdaan has overseen exploring new opportunities, including expanding into new products, building a cloud-based data platform with Google, improving Belvedere's capabilities through acquisition and R&D, and helping launch a synergistic venture capital fund. Built in Chicago has recognized Belvedere Trading as one of the best workplaces since 2020. And before becoming CEO, Yezdaan served as a CTO from 2004 to 2018. He holds an MOA MLP from Oxford, an MSCIS from Northwestern, go Cats, and a general course from LSE and a BA from Colby College. Yezdaan sits on 3 boards: Stubborn Edge, London School of Economics DSI, and Big Shoulders. Welcome Brian as Yezdaan, and please take it away.
Awesome. Very much appreciate the introduction, Fair, and super excited to talk to Yezdaan. That I run a consumer-facing fintech platform, and Yezdaan is very much in the financial technology space, but in a just different spectrum. I joke that in Silicon Valley, companies lose a lot of money and they're very loud about it. And then Chicago, I view the prop tech companies as our proprietary trading companies as Chicago's big tech companies. They make a lot of money and they're very quiet about it. And so, due to being a little bit secretive, I would just love to get a high-level overview of Belvedere Trading, sort of what you do, size of company, headcount, offices, all the like to just set the stage for the conversation.
Yeah, sure. I didn't realize we were going to read my whole bio, but well, it's cool to hear a little bit. So yeah, Belvedere Trading, we've been in business 23 years. Started in options and continue to trade options on the market making side of that. So started in the indexes, went into the commodities, trade everything from energies to rates to metals, agriculture, all kinds of commodities. I'm probably missing a few in there. Opened up individual equities. So we trade maybe 5,000 to 5,500 individual names of option series there. Started a venture capital fund, We have a charity, which we're very proud of, and we do a lot in terms of like culture. So if you look on our website, a big part of our ethos is our core values, and we talk about Team Belvedere and me and team and own it and all these things quite a bit. Yeah, so I think probably a reasonable start.
No, super helpful. And then maybe even just mentioned have Chicago headquarters, handful of offices, anything around just headcount and size of organization?
Yeah, so we're right around 300 people, give or take. And the headquarters in Chicago, that's where we started. And then we have a office in Boulder, 2 offices in New York right now, and an office in Singapore.
Great. And then, you gave the overview of trading a lot of different financial service products across equity and options, a little bit in futures. Would love to talk about the technology side of the equation and, all that you all do to support it. That, there's sort of this, I don't know if people read Flash Boys, there's always this innovation and staying current with the latest of technology. So would love to hear what you guys do with regards to hardware and anything specific with that, with the software and engineering your overall systems, as well as sort of anything on the more technical quantitative finance side of the equation.
Sure. Yeah, this is pretty near and dear to my heart. I started in this business on the technology and quantitative side, and wrote a lot of our systems in C++, which I'm guessing a lot of people nowadays are not using as much C++ for the web side of building systems, but for us, the latency profiles kind of demand it. So yeah, we do hardware, we do custom hardware, which is an interesting nanosecond trades that we try to do. A lot of the ways that we use hardware is to make sure that we can get out of the way of being picked off. So our business is giving two-sided markets to the world and saying, if you have an option that you want to buy or sell from your Fidelity broker or whoever you might have, you want to trade in the market, you need to trade against someone, and so that's our business. So where we use hardware primarily is to get out of the way when certain market events are happening, so that other participants don't make bad trades against us. So that's been interesting. It's a really cool technical problem, because trying to measure at the nanosecond level is it's a whole technical question, and you have to buy some very specific hardware and atomic clocks and rubidium elements and all these other things that are pretty cool. And then you have to actually build it all into an FPGA and get your clock timing right and all those things. And then we go all the way to the other side. We've had a partnership with Google, started maybe 2.5 years ago at this point, and really started working with their BigQuery big data set and pushing a lot of our analytics up there and looking at how can we leverage some newer technology stacks to think about analytics. And then kind of in the middle of that is a lot of C++ and quant modeling and performance optimizations out there.
And my guess, you said you started 23 years ago, and I'm sure there's been massive progression of the tech in the industry, the size of the firm, the complexity, how you guys approach it. Would love to hear the perspective of how you balance sort of, hey, the market's opening tomorrow, we have a day-to-day P&L, we have on operations to run, versus what sets Belvedere apart and is some of this technical innovation, and how you balance sort of this R&D, thinking about the future versus the day-to-day, and how that's changed over the story arc of Belvedere.
Yeah, I would. I think every company has this challenge. It's like, well, like, how much do you want to invest in the future, and how much do you want to keep making sure that like all of your tech debt is like sorted with, and making sure that you're operationally good. One thing for sure is like we want to make the compliance of it, and the regulators are not happy if there's big like market, like if we have market impact in a bad way. So we have very high standards in terms of like how we're trying to like look at our automated testing and doing all of those things. So that adds a little bit of extra deploying. But I do think there's different teams at this point. Some are deploying daily, generally at least deploying multiple times a week. So we're pretty iterative and agile in that perspective. We definitely don't do let's plan really long term and build for a year and then try to roll out something. We come up with like bigger roadmaps of things that we want, but iteratively deploy them, because you get a lot of information as you deploy system changes throughout the time. But in terms of like how we think about growth, we think about what I'd say vertical expansion of like what kind of new capabilities can we add to our system to trade all the products that we have today in a much better way. And it could be anything from being faster to being smarter to other types of features there, or horizontal expansion of just adding products to our current set of technologies. And then there's this like interesting thing of like what we call greenfield, where it's like a new product and a new technology, and we're going to go trade some other random thing that we haven't traded before. And that one takes, I think probably similar to like when we think about venture capital, like it takes investment, and we have to have a little bit of a longer term thought and time horizon of we're going to spend so many dollars for the next year to get something to a point where we feel then it'll have its hockey stick up curve after that.
Yep. And I guess with that is that, for sort of big unknowns in the future, it's very hard to predict with certainty where that's going to net out. And so how much do you bring the science to that versus the art, the gut feel, the perspective, the judgment, and some of those longer term bets and decisions that you guys are making?
We're very quantitative just generally. And we actually think about it similar to like how we would trade kind of anything. So, us putting an investment into so any trade is generally like, all right, well, how much expected edge do I think I'm going to make on this trade? Like, how many dollars do I think I'll make? What are the different types of risks that we have? And then like, what is your like liquidity, which is kind of a risk, but maybe another piece that you might want to think of, like, can you get out of this thing, right? So we're pretty quantitative on like how we do that for any option that we would trade intraday, and at the same time we would do the same thing for like longer term investments and say how much edge and like what's the risk and all these different things. So yeah.
Perfect. Just got the message that they're back. I will ask one final question. You've been at the company for 22 years and seen a lot of growth. Any sort of insights or recommendations you have for a bunch of these founders who are starting off on their journey, and words of wisdom to use in their overall arc?
Yeah, I would say that if I was going to give one word of advice, is that just like jump in with 2 feet. At the end of the day, like kind of pre-hedging your bet and be like, oh, maybe I'll kind of half do this. Like usually doesn't work. So I would say just jump in there, really try it. What we'd say swarm it, and if it doesn't work out, you have a really good story. But it's better than kind of half doing it.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for the time. And with that, I will hand it over to Lucy.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you for that incredible conversation, Brian and Yezdaan, and we appreciate your time. We know that you are very busy. So now that the judges are back, it's the moment that we've all been waiting for, and a reminder that the runner-up and winner will both go on through the process to potentially compete for the 100,000 finale competition at the end of our season. So without further ado, judges, can you please announce the runner-up and winner? And I believe Hilton will be announcing our winner. Take it away.
Yeah. Thanks, Delphar. Thanks everyone for the pitches. We really enjoyed all of them, and we're super excited to get to hear from you all. The runner-up will be gaapRT. We thought you had a really thoughtful application and product and what is a high need space. And then the winner of this round will be Round. We thought you had a really clear understanding of the need state, for the merchants you're targeting, and have done a great job building out the early wait lists and early customers so far.
Congratulations, Jacqueline and team, on your anniversary nonetheless. If you want to give a couple of words to all.
Yes, thank you so much. This is so meaningful for us and our merchants that we got to spend all weekend with at America's Beauty Show. So it really just the impact, has totally materialized for us. And I was kicking myself after the pitch for not mentioning a few things. So I'm so grateful. Thank you, all of you, and TechRise and P33, and the impressive competition today. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, congratulations again, and thank you to all of our founders for joining us. And we hope to see you again next week for our clean tech pitch competition. Pitch competition. I'm excited, guys. Streaming at the same time next week.
Congratulations.